Hi guys, my name is Miller, and this is my extremely late top 10 games of 2012 video. Essentially, all you need to know about this is that the requirement for this list was only that everything on it was a game, and everything on it was released in 2012 in some form or another, and I enjoyed playing all of them. So if I didn't get a chance to play a game, it, of course, is not on here. Don't feel bad if one of your favorite things isn't on here, because it's probably just something I haven't played. So in a minute, I'll get to the top 10 games of 2012, but right now I have one honorable mention in the form of Black Mesa Source. I don't really know anyone who doesn't own at least one Half-Life game. Every now and then, I'll even open up and replay Half-Life 2, and it still actually looks pretty good to this day. However, the first game in the series hasn't been so lucky. It doesn't run very well on modern systems, and by today's standards, it looks almost pitifully bad, which honestly is a problem that most 3D games of that era suffer from. Well, a few years ago, several modders took it upon themselves to fix that problem, setting out to recreate the original game with modern assets. The result is, of course, Black Mesa Source, a near-perfect remake made entirely from the ground up by a team of amateurs. I can't stress how significant it is that they actually pulled this off, because honestly, for most of the development cycle, people were really skeptical if it would even come out. The game plays great, actually looks decent, and serves as a wonderful trip down memory lane for those of us who love the Half-Life series. I wish the Black Mesa team lots of luck in their future endeavors, and I know they'll do a great job on whatever they do next. Alright. So with that out of the way, I present to you the top 10 games of 2012. Coming in at number 10, we have The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead graphic novels, TV show, and now the game developed by Telltale have all received very well-deserved praise by reviewers and fans alike. The game is also a perfect addition to the franchise, taking place in gaps left by the comic book series and introducing us to a nearly entirely new cast of characters that we actually grow to care about over the course of each episode. In terms of point-and-click adventure games, it's one of the best I've ever played, and it even takes a lot of its design inspirations from other genres. So the end result ends up feeling like a very unique mashup of elements from point-and-click games, RPGs, and action games that actually works quite well together. I would honestly be really surprised if we didn't see a sequel to this game in the future, and we do know that Activision is in the process of making a Walking Dead FPS, although how good that is or isn't remains to be seen. So anyway, coming in at number 9, we have Tribes Ascend. Guys, every now and then, a game comes along that just grabs you and takes you on an exhilarating ride. Tribes Ascend will hold a place very near and dear to me in the coming years for several reasons. The first one is that it was one of the best multiplayer shooters I've played all year, and it showed us that not only was it possible to make a great free-to-play FPS, but also that old-school style shooters are still perfectly viable and something that many gamers would love to see more of. Ascend was also the game that really got me interested in competitive gaming, and the irony of that is not lost on me as the Tribes competitive scene currently lies kind of broken and beaten at the bottom of a ditch somewhere. Because of experiencing the thrill of competitive Tribes, I've also taken an interest in other esports such as Dota 2, StarCraft, Quake, and Counter-Strike, and now whenever I play a multiplayer game, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm always wondering if there's potential there to turn the game into an esport. I seriously can't stress how captured I was by this game, and honestly, for months, my schedule every day consisted of me waking up, going to school, coming home, and playing Tribes, then watching pro players stream on Twitch playing Tribes, then playing even more Tribes. For months. Seriously, months. This was like my entire spring of this year. Alright, at number 8 we have Borderlands 2. So guys, sometimes you just want a game with a great sense of humor that lets you shoot hordes of enemies with incredibly amazing, unique, and entertaining guns. Borderlands 2 provides that in spades, giving gamers more of what they loved from the first game. When gaming, it's also usually quite difficult to make me laugh, and I can't really remember that many games that have accomplished this, but this game's fantastic sense of humor, immature as it may be, had me in stitches during the entire time that I played. Borderlands 2 is a game that's very self-aware, knowing entirely what it is, and not taking itself seriously in the slightest. Handsome Jack also takes the cake as one of the funniest characters I've ever seen in a video game. I don't always need a complicated plot, I don't always need mature and intelligent characters, and I don't always need a unique and artsy experience. Sometimes I just want to shoot stuff in the face in some of the most entertaining ways possible, and if that's what you're looking for, Borderlands 2 just might be the game for you. Coming in at number 7, we've got Awesomenauts. When talking about ridiculous games of 2012, I don't really think we could leave out Awesomenauts. The Saturday morning cartoon vibe of this game, whether it be in art style, characters, or music, all help it feel quite fresh and original. I consider Awesomenauts a very important game for several reasons. It's the first MOBA game that I know of to successfully pull off a 2D perspective, and not only does it pull it off, but it does it with style. The decision to go 2D means that Awesomenauts is much faster paced than traditional MOBAs, like Dota or League of Legends. It has fewer obstacles that you need to navigate around, and has less travel time across the map with the inclusion of things like jump pads that propel you forward. The game is also much more skill-based, relying on not just accuracy, but also platforming proficiency. Awesomenauts also takes the cake as the most easily accessible MOBA that I've ever played by a country mile. The fact that you can set up your loadout before a game even begins helps eliminate a lot of in-game confusion when deciding what to buy in the shop. Also, experience is gained by collecting cubes in-game, putting much less emphasis on getting a high creep score and taking much of the stress out of leveling. So all in all, I would consider Awesomenauts to be the best thing to happen to the MOBA genre since the original Dota, and that's definitely saying something. In terms of amazing old school shooters, Counter-Strike stands right up there alongside other gems like Quake and Unreal Tournament. The series also definitely has some of the most competitive shooters out there, and has an incredibly high skill ceiling. So for this reason, many Counter-Strike purists were upset at the series' previous incarnation, Counter-Strike Source. Balance issues and the like scared many fans of the series away. Global Offensive, however, aims to fix these problems while also being the most accessible Counter-Strike game yet. The designers of Global Offensive have added new, very entertaining modes in the forms of Arms Race, which is essentially just an official version of Gun Game, and Demolition, a hybrid of sorts between Gun Game and classic Counter-Strike modes. CSGO has also added a few new modern features to the game that are all but necessary in a new shooter these days. Bots are now included in the game, and control of them could be taken over by an actual human player after they die. Global Offensive also includes matchmaking, which is a feature that greatly increases the convenience factor of the game and ensures that you'll always be able to find a server to play on. In terms of visuals, the game looks great and serves as Counter-Strike's official step into the current graphical generation. Ultimately, it's the same Counter-Strike you know and love, just with a load of amazing new features and pumped up visuals. So whether you're a new player or a series veteran, you're going to want to pick this up. Coming in at number 5, we have Dishonored. Dishonored follows the popular trend in games of making player choices matter. However, rather than going the route of games like Mass Effect or The Walking Dead, player choice in Dishonored is rather subtle and passes up opportunities to shove information in your face in favor of letting you figure out your options and playstyle on your own. And the game only becomes more rewarding for doing so. Completing objectives your own way is so much more satisfying than being forced to follow a pre-made path. At the end of it all, you really feel invested in the events and politics of the world. I actually found that about half my playtime was just spent reading more information about the history and intricacies of the Dishonored universe. The game is also gorgeous and has one of the most interesting art styles I've seen in a while. It was also very entertaining trying to identify each series that Dishonored took inspiration from. So far, my list includes BioShock, Deus Ex, the Batman Arkham series, Mass Effect, Mirror's Edge, and the Bethesda RPGs. If you're a fan of any of these series, I would strongly recommend that you give Dishonored a try, and odds are you'll like what you find. At number 4, we have Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition. Most of you will, of course, know that Dark Souls is the spiritual sequel to Demon Souls, both of which were developed by From Software. Unfortunately, in 2012 it was ported to PC, giving many people like me a chance to play it for the first time. It's true that the port of the game itself has no shortage of issues, but the game underneath all that is still incredible. Dark Souls is one of the most difficult games I've played in quite a while, and for the most part the game pulls this off quite well. Though the game is an RPG, a greater emphasis is placed on player skill and having a good understanding of your enemies. The combat feels very, very good and quite realistic. You can't just run into fights hacking away like a madman in Dark Souls. And to succeed means acting very deliberately in combat, understanding what will happen even before it does, and having a plan of how to counter your enemy's actions. My only gripe with the game is that I wish save points were slightly more plentiful, but that's honestly just a personal preference anyway. And this way, you just feel that much more accomplished every time you're able to advance in the game. From Software has succeeded in creating a JRPG that's one of the best I've ever played, and I normally don't even like JRPGs. Speaking of incredibly difficult games, the number 3 spot on my list goes to Hotline Miami, a wonderfully surreal and old-school top-down beat-em-up developed by Denison Games. Combat feels extremely satisfying and is an extremely fast-paced gore fest where one wrong move can lead to your death. Make no mistake, if you play Hotline Miami, you will die. A lot. Despite the fact that dying is so common, it rarely, if ever, feels frustrating thanks to extremely frequent checkpoints and very quick load times, combined with the fast-paced combat of the game. Hotline Miami's art style is also wonderful, taking inspiration from 80s culture as a whole, and even from recent media such as the 2011 movie Drive. Each kill you get in Hotline Miami is accompanied by a ridiculous amount of gore and flashing score indicators. The story is also incredibly surreal in the best way possible, and that combined with the art style makes Hotline Miami one of the trippiest games I've ever played. Coming in at number 2 on my list is Chivalry Medieval Warfare. Chivalry is interesting based on the fact that it's somehow the first game to deliver something that most of us have probably wanted for a long time. Stellar first-person melee combat is perfect for a medieval setting, yet up until now we've had to go without this in games. The release of Chivalry Medieval Warfare fixes this problem. Chivalry definitely has the best first-person melee combat out of any game I've ever played, with a medieval setting or otherwise. The ability to dynamically change your fighting style in the midst of a battle, the ability to block, counter, and feint, combined with Chivalry's primarily first-person first-person perspective makes combat in this game damn entertaining. Chivalry also provides multiplayer content in spades. The game features numerous modes and has already had several major free updates. The team objective mode features medieval war objectives and craziness galore, and was one of the most interesting and unique multiplayer experiences I had the pleasure of playing in 2012. Now what I really want to see next is combat in the same style that Chivalry offers in a single-player game. And if we saw something like this in the next Elder Scrolls game, it would probably just be too intense for me and my mind would be blown. That would be like the best game ever. And finally, we arrive at the #1 game on my list, Rayman Origins. I honestly can't say enough good things about Rayman Origins. The game is simply fantastic in literally everything it does. The level design, gameplay, soundtrack, and art style are some of the best I've ever seen in any game, platformer or not. Rayman Origins is the culmination of over 30 years of 2D platformers, and it takes inspiration from all the best that the genre has to offer, while at the same time fine-tuning and perfecting every single familiar mechanic and throwing in a bunch of brilliant new ones. It seems like new features and gimmicks are introduced in each new level, making progression in Rayman Origins always feel fresh, entertaining, and exciting. Movement and gameplay feel extremely fluid, allowing the player to easily navigate through levels while enjoying all the crazy silliness around them. The art in this game is beautiful and crisp, and the game looks great in motion. Not to mention that the art style, combined with the music, makes Rayman Origins one of the funniest and silliest platformers I've experienced. The game doesn't take itself seriously at all, and is only better because of that. Speaking of the music, it's as equally brilliant as any other aspect in this game. Each new location has its own unique theme, and every single track in this game is memorable, entertaining, and fits perfectly with the atmosphere. Rayman Origins is just one of those games that makes it incredibly difficult to not crack a smile while playing. It really is just simply fantastic in every way. So guys, those games were my top 10 games of 2012. Let me know what you thought of this list. Did you agree with my choices? Did you disagree? Were there things that you wanted to be included but weren't? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll definitely be reading all of them and talking with you guys about this if you want, and I think it'll be a fun time. Hopefully I can get a few new videos out soon that are more on par with my usual style, but I just really wanted to do this, and I'm sorry it took so long. I just wanted to make it quite good, and unfortunately real life also got in the way quite a bit, but I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, I've been rambling long enough. If you like this video, please remember to subscribe, like it, and maybe even favorite it if you really liked it. But yeah, until next time guys, my name's Level 1 Miller, and you've been watching Level 1.